Russia update. Bucha commander promoted, Democracies targeted. Hello everyone, I am Elina, welcome back to my channel Enough of Propaganda. I am a former associate professor of several Russian universities, an economist and financier. I conducted an extensive research on Russian-Ukrainian War 2014-present and a lot of research on Russian-Ukrainian history. Now I am Canadian writer and a traveler. In this video, I review the latest key verified changes based on independent investigative reporting, including sources such as The Insider and verified on the ground OSINT reports. Let's look closely at what is happening in Russia. This is earlier article from May 4th. Russian general sanctions overall in Bucha massacre, appointed commander of airspace forces. Colonel General Alexander Chaiko has been appointed to the new commander-in-chief of Russia airspace forces, according to report by business outlet RBC, citing a source familiar with the personal decision and another source close to Ministry of Defense. And Chaiko basically was added to the European Union sanctions list among 9 people held responsible for Bucha massacre, the mass killing of civilians and prisoners of war in the city of Bucha just outside of the Kiev in March 2022. I made a video myself about Bucha, the Bucha massacre, who is guilty, Bucha in 2022, Slavyansk in 2014. Bucha wasn't something new. Russia is committing war crimes in Ukraine all 12 years, over 12 years of war. And in Slavyansk in 2014 they were doing exactly the same thing as in Bucha, only on a smaller scale. And yet, Putin got away with it. But if you want to know more about Bucha, here's the video. So this is the reward for the General Chaiko for murdering people in Ukraine in the cold blood. Another bad guy in Russia got rewarded. Judge who declared LGBTQ plus people extremists, Navalny allies terrorists, and legalized the Taliban to head a Russian Supreme Court panel. So this is Judge Oleg Nefedov. That's the bad guy who did all of this. And by the way, hello to LGBTQ plus people. Now, in case you didn't know, congratulations, Russia promoted you to an organization, an extremist one. I bet you will be surprised to hear that. And lots of stuff that Nefedov did. He ordered liquidation of the independent Parnas party, refused to allow anti-war candidates Ekaterina Duntsova and Boris Nadezhdin to run in 2024 presidential election, declared the non-existent international and LGBT movement and international Satanism movement extremist, designated the Anti-War Committee of Russia and US registered legal entity of the Anti-Corruption Foundation as terrorist organizations. He also heard Navalny's lawsuit against the penal colony in the Vladimir region, where the opposition leader was held, as well as his claim against the Ministry of Justice. And suspended Russian ban on Taliban. So now he is the head of Russian Supreme Court. A recent important development in Russia. Russia State Duma passes bill allowing Putin to send troops to protect Russians arrested abroad. So congrats. United States, you also have Russian prisoners as far as I know. So everything of that means that Russia have the rights to attack you. Russia is printing passports like candies and giving it to foreign traitors who are ready to betray their own country and serve Russian interests. Russia's ruling party proposes citizenship for foreigners convicted of support for Moscow. They probably wouldn't care to get you out, and you will still rot in jail, but they could give you a Russian passport. This is what Russian Deputy Speaker of Duma, Yarovaya, said. We are confident that ahead of second reading we will have to additionally consider cases of people being unlawfully prosecuted in their countries for supporting the Russian Federation. So help Russia to destroy your country. You will get Russian passport. And these people might need Russian passports. German company used Turkey and other countries to supply dual-use goods to Russia for 4 years. Good morning, Germany. Police in the northern German city of Lübeck have arrested a businessman suspected of organizing a scheme to supply dual-use technology to Russia. Politico identified the suspect as 39-year-old Nikita S. and 2 other German entities involved. ER distributor GmbH and Amtech Solutions, as well as Turkish company MR Global. These companies helped kill Ukrainian people. The goods were sent to Russia through third countries, including Turkey. In some cases, only 5 to 10 days passed between their dispatch from the EU and delivery in Russia. This is how, in the missiles, which kills Ukrainian people, and one of them just killed them in Kiev, there are components which help Russia to create these missiles today. The missile actually was very new, which hit Ukrainian building, I just showed you earlier. They had components produced this year. The sanctions worked against Russia, and they worked well. They worked slow, but they worked. And they still are working. But there are ways to go around it, and one of them we just talked now. And this is next one. Russia secures another Airbus despite sanctions on aviation sector. This is May 18th. This is very fresh. An Airbus A320, bearing the Russian registration number, arrived in Moscow's Vnukovo airport on May 15th, according to a report by the aviation-focused Telegram channel Aviation Mezzanine. The channel said Russian airline Severozapad is the aircraft's new owner. If Russia will get help to continue war in Ukraine, it only will kill more people, Ukrainians and Russians. This has to stop. Even my country, Canada, is not immune to all of this. Canadian intelligence met with Quebec firearms manufacturer Cadex after the Insider and Global News found its rifles reached Russian snipers. Of course, they denying it, but there were several meetings by Canadian intelligence officers with the executives of the company. Cadex president Serge Dextraz told Global News that meetings with representatives of the Canadian Security Intelligence Service, or CSIS, focused on Moscow efforts to basically go around the arms embargo. The company insisted it doesn't supply its products to Russia, and yet their product ended up in Russia. After the investigation, Canadian Foreign Minister Anita Anand promised to examine how Canadian rifles ended up with Russian snipers. But 6 months passed and still no answer, so I demanded an answer from my government in Canada. And the foreign ministry is thinking that Canadian rifles could have been supplied to armed forces on Ukraine, could be captured by Russian troops, but that version doesn't explain how Russia is obtaining new barrels in branded cases with intact labels. Similar rifles were displayed in the Orel Expo 2025 arms exhibition in Moscow in early October. So this has to be investigated. Meanwhile, Russia is sneaking into the world back. First was Venice Biennale, and I might talk about it in some other video. And the next, World Gymnastics allow Russian athletes to compete under national flag and anthem for the first time since 2022. This is outrageous. This shouldn't be done. As a Russian from Russia, of course I'm Canadian, and for many years now I'm Canadian, but originally I'm from Russia and the USSR, and I know full well everything in Russia and the USSR is propaganda. Everything. Art, music, science, sport. The only purpose of it in Soviet Union and Russia is propaganda. And Russia does not deserve to be among civilized countries in the places like this. In the sport competitions, in the art exhibitions, because Russia is killing Ukrainians every day today. And Karl Robertson came to the Russian pavilion in Venice Biennale, and he confronted Russian ambassador and saying, "You killed 30 Ukrainians last night. What are you doing here?" And they were thrown out, basically he and his, if he had a crew. Of course, they're not welcome in the Russian pavilion. But everybody else is sipping champagne and enjoying life while Ukrainian people are dying. And Russian people are dying. Another important part of news, in addition to some of my videos on the propaganda, Kremlin-linked Matryoshka bot network spreads disinformation about a looming hantavirus pandemic in Europe, despite scientists pointed out to low risk. This is what Russians' disinformation does. It's stirring the pot, trying to make people afraid, trying to go after one another, trying to incite internal fights inside the countries. Everything to destroy the democracies and help Putin. So you're welcome to read it yourself. This is basically continuing of the operation of Doppelganger. because the Matryoshka bot network is spreading videos and images disguised as content provided by reputable Western media outlets. The fake videos and images are being posted on X and TikTok. Bots are placing them in the comments under posts by well-known fact-checkers, demanding that the information be verified, and are even sending them to journalists' personal email addresses. Views, reposts, and likes on X are being artificially inflated. In one video that uses the logo of the media outlet France 24, Matryoshka plants a truly apocalyptic picture, claiming hantavirus has already been detected in 210 people across 60 French cities. It also claims France's healthcare system and economy have been so weakened by support for Ukraine that the country will be unable to cope with a new epidemic, which it says could have more severe consequences than COVID-19 pandemic in 2020. This is a lie, of course. In reality, as of May 14th, French Health Minister Stéphanie Rist says only one hantavirus case has been recorded among French citizens, a female passenger from the affected ship. Another 26 people who had contact with the passenger tested negative and their health continues to be monitored. Another video, disguised as content from German outlet Deutsche Welle, accuses Ukrainian refugees of phone fraud, which they are allegedly trying to sell the vaccine against hantavirus. And to aid credibility, the first part of the video described the evacuation of passengers from the ship, where the outbreak occurs fairly accurately. You can read in the details, but epidemiologists consider an epidemic of pandemic of the scale of COVID-19 is unlikely in the case of hantavirus, just because how it spreads. And they citing Irina Yakutenko here, which is, I know, I watched her videos and so on. And so you're welcome to verify it for yourself. Here's Ukrainian song for you, for positive. The spring is here. Ukraine has future. Glory to Ukraine. Despite the fact that The Insider, one of the most famous and most trustworthy investigative journalists, I still verify stuff by myself. And just because I provide you one article, it doesn't mean I did not check many of them and confirm this article, what it says. Over the years, I verified a lot of information from Russia and Ukraine, and I'm always providing evidence to back up anything I say. So please don't just take my word for it. Feel free to fact check the information I provide. There are sources listed in the description to my videos or sometimes in the comments. Unlike many on YouTube, I proved who I am and where I am from. And there is a whole playlist about me if you're interested. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, share my videos, and help YouTube algorithm to show it to more people.